Hello everybody, this is Monday morning exponent practice, February the 8th. Okay, so if you're watching this, it's probably because you weren't in class today. Okay, so I apologize for that. So I'm going to try to be as quickly as I can without skipping over too much explanation. Okay, and so this is what we did today in class. So like I said, because we covered all of these, everybody should be getting the right answer, and everybody should be have all the same stuff here. Okay? So, that being said, all right, let's get started here. So, for this guy, what are we doing here? Well, all of these, actually, we're going to have 5 multiple choice and then 6 regular problems where we have to. Well, there is no multiple choice, right? We're going to have to manipulate these numbers. So, that being said, let's get started. So the first 5, glasses fell off. First 5 involve dealing with negative exponents, okay? And so what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be making sure that this thing is simplified, right? We don't leave negative exponents just floating around there, okay? Just like we do with the I values, right? There's a way to simplify those guys, just like there's a way to simplify these negative exponents, okay? So that being said, right, using our exponent rules, right, which expression is equivalent to this guy? Well, take your negative 1. Okay, we can distribute it through there, so we can have 3 to the negative 1, x to the negative 2. And how are those things written? Well, 1 over 3 times 1 over x squared, which is equal to 1 over 3x squared. Okay, that's one way you could think about it. Or, anytime you have anything raised to a negative power, you just take that something, put it in the denominator, and raise it to whatever power that is, which in this case was a 1. And so anything raised to the 1 power isn't anything all that exciting. And so again, there we are with the same answer. Okay, it all depends on how you think about these things. Anyway, the answer for that one is going to be 1. Okay, and the next one. Okay, what I'm trying to get you guys to do here, all right, I'm trying to train you so that when you see these negative exponents, what we do is we just have to rewrite them, right, by putting them in the correct spot. So I see an x to the negative 1, which means I'm going to move that down below, raise it to that power. And I got a y to the negative 4, so I'm going to instead, I'm not going to bring it, it's in the denominator, so it actually gets moved up to the numerator. Okay, and now we have things in the right place, right? We don't have any negative exponents, and all we have left to do is multiply. So we get y to the 6 all over x cubed, which is number 4. Okay, take a look at this guy down here. Okay, this guy here, I'm just going to, there's a couple ways we could go about it. I think this would be the easiest route. Just distribute that negative 1, right? So 5. It's going to be 5, so negative 2 times a negative 1 is a positive 2. 3 times a negative 1 will give me a negative 3. And, whoops. And this is going to be b to the 4th. Negative 4 times negative 1 is positive 4. So the only one that doesn't belong where in the numerator is just that a cubed, so I just shove them in the denominator, raise it to that power, and then everybody gets out. Everybody else is left in the numerator there. Okay? So our answer is number 2. Take a look at the next guy. Okay? Same process, just moving values where they belong. I got a b cubed, or raised to that negative 3, so I'm going to move him down in the numerator next to that other b. And I got a to the negative 4, so I'm going to bring that person, I'm talking about them like they're actual people, I'm going to bring that letter all the way up to the top. And so now we don't see any negative exponents. We got everything in the right spot. So we're going to go a to the 6th times b to the 5th. Do we have that answer? We sure do. Okay, let's keep going. So again, a couple switcheroos going around here, right? These x's are going to kind of switch places, right? So we're going to have one x gets moved down here. Now remember that 3 is not affected by that x to the negative 5, right? If it was written with parentheses, then yes, right? That would be 3x being raised to the negative fifth power, but it's only the x there. So that 3 is going to get kind of stuck behind here, right? So that 3 is going to hang out, okay? That 1x gets moved down here. That y gets moved up to the top. Same thing with that other x to the fifth power. And we also have a y to the fourth there, okay? So let's simplify this out. So we're going to have x to the fifth, y to the fifth, and 3x, okay? But if you thought you were done, you were wrong, because we got one more cancellation there. Okay, so our answer is going to be x to the fourth, y to the fifth, all over 3. And do we have that answer? We sure do. Okay. So those are our answers for the first 5. 1, 4, 2, 1, 1. Okay, let's take a look down at the bottom here and we'll call it a day. All right, so rewrite in the form of a raised to the t power. Okay, so if you look in this first piece, okay, we got 100 2 times t, right? That's what that really stands for. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that 2 inside the parentheses. Okay, now I'm not breaking any rules, because if I wanted to get back to where I were, right, I would just multiply that through, right, and we would get 100 raised to the 2t power. However, we want it written like this, right? So 100 squared is just going to be 10,000 raised to the t. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Same sort of process, right? This is technically 81 raised to the t. Whoops, let me rewrite it like this. 1/4 times t, right? Okay? And so what part don't we want? We don't want that 1/4, right? So I'm just going to move that inside the parenthesis. And 8 raised to the 1/4 power is going to give me a 3t. Pretty sure. Right? 81 is a 3. Okay. Let's take a look at the next couple. So we want to rewrite this guy in this form. So some number times some other number raised to the power of c. Okay? So this guy right here, what is this really written as? This is 8c times 8 to the first power, right? We don't know what c is, right? But because we have the same base, we would add the exponents, and we would get that c plus 1. So far, so good. Our problem is we got our c in the front, right? And we got that 8 in the back here. So what we're going to have to do, because we want to make sure it's written in this form, technically what we have here is wrong. Right, so all we're going to have to do is just flip those guys around, right? 8 times 8c. And now we have it written exactly how they told us to, right? Some number times some other number raised to the power of c. Okay. On the next one. All right, I'm going to rewrite this guy so it looks a little more, less chaotic, right? So this is c to the third plus 1, right? That looks a little more what we've been kind of messing around with, right? The only difference is they kind of had that 1/3 in the front, all right? Okay, so depending on, excuse me, depending on your comfort level, right? You can leave it like we have it here, or you can do what I do and just kind of rewrite it so that it looks a little more familiar to how we've been handling things. So before we get started doing anything with that c over 3 power, we need to get rid of that 8 or that plus 1 here, right? So how do we do that? Well, let's rewrite this guy so that it's 8 times 125 c divided by 3 times 125, okay? Raised to the first power. Now again, same base, right? What do we do when we have the same base? When we're multiplying with exponents, we add the exponents, so therefore this would be just c over 3 plus 1. Okay, so we haven't broken any rules. I didn't change the value of anything. I just rewrote it in a different manner. Okay, so I bring this guy to the front. So 8 times 125 is going to give me 1,000 times 125 raised to the c over 3. Now, which part don't we like? Well, we want to be left with that c value, right? We want just the c to be left alone. So, just like we've been doing, I'm going to take that, oops, because really, what is this thing right here? This is 1/3 times c, right? And I'm going to take that 1/3, put inside the parenthesis. And so 125 raised to the 1/3 power is going to give me a 5. Some number times some other number raised to the power of c. Okay. Last two, we'll call it the day. So this guy right here, right? We're going to kind of work forward this time, right? The last problem we were adding stuff. I'm sorry, in the last problem we were taking stuff off, right? This problem we're adding stuff. So hopefully this kind of guides you in that manner so you can see kind of both sides, right? So we're going to leave that 1/2 alone, and we're really going to mess with this 8x. So I see a 2 in the denominator. Whoops. So I'm going to multiply it by my strategic 1, right? And so I'm going to get 1/2 8 to the 2x over 2. And I'm going to move that 2 inside the parentheses, so I'm just left with x over 1/2. There we go. Or x over 2, right? Or x times 1/2. Anyway, okay? So now let's figure out what we got inside parentheses there. So it's going to give me a 64 raised to the x over 2. And now we're ready to do the plus 1 minus 1. Remember, you always have to do this step last, okay? Because otherwise it's going to throw off what these values actually are. Okay, so in this case, 64 x over 2 plus 1 times 64 raised to the negative 1 power. Okay, again, what do we do when we multiplying with the same base? We add the exponents, and so you'd have x over 2 plus 1 minus 1, right? Those would cancel out, and then we'd be left with what we started with, okay? So again, just making sure we aren't breaking any rules. Finally, I'm going to move this to the front. Oops, why do I have an 8 there? It's supposed to be a 2. There we go. And so 64 times 2, so our answer is going to be 1 over 128 times 64 raised to the x over 2 plus 1 power. Okay, and finally the last one. All right, we need to take this guy and make it look like we have a 2x there, right? And so instead of just multiplying through, I see that there's something special about 9. That's actually just 3 squared. So I bring that 2 out, and there's our answer. Okay, so if you're watching this, guys, hopefully this kind of guides you. This is what I'll be checking for on the homework. Okay, so make sure you got all these problems in. Make sure you show your work. Okay, don't just be putting answers in there. And yeah. So, good luck, you guys.